Hi, I'm Heather Rates, and today I'm going to be talking about phonemic awareness and phonics instruction. Alright, so up first I have phonemic awareness. And phonemic awareness is the basic understanding that speech is made up of individual sounds. So when students become phonemically aware, they understand that they can segment and blend sounds to form spoken words. They're also able to break apart and reassemble words as well as make changes to those words. An example of a student who has become phonemically aware is when they hear the word cup, for example, and then they understand that cup is made up of the phonemes or sounds ka, and pa, and vice versa. So when they hear the phonemes ka, and pa, they understand that that makes up the word cup. It's important to note that phonemic awareness focuses on spoken words and is not about reading letters or pronouncing names. So what is the importance of phonemic awareness in learning to read? Well, phonemic awareness lays the foundation for children learning to read. They need the ability to recognize that speech can be broken down into smaller units for them to be able to understand that sound and symbols correspond with one another, as well as learning spelling patterns. Phonemic awareness has also become a strong predictor in reading achievement rates later on in life. So this means that when students have become phonemically aware versus students who are still struggling with that, those students who have become phonemically aware have higher reading achievement rates later on in life. All right, so up next we have how do teachers develop phonemic awareness in children? So there are a variety of different strategies that teachers can use. The first one is identifying sounds. This is when children are able to identify that a word begins with or ends with a specific sound or phoneme. So an example of this would be when a student hears the word sky and they understand that it ends with the long I sound for the word Y. Or sorry, for the letter Y. All right, and so the next one is categorizing sounds in words. This is when students are able to identify which word doesn't belong in a specific group. So if they're given the words flower, cup, and cot, they understand that flower does not belong in that group because it starts with the sound instead of the k sound. All right, so the next one is blending sounds, and this is when students are able to blend anywhere between 2 to 4 phonemes and create a spoken word from it. So going back to our very first example of the cup, so they're able to take ka, and pa and form the word cup from it. So that's blending. And then segmenting is the complete opposite. So they take the word cup to begin with and they segment it into its individual phonemes. So ka, and pa. All right, so there are different activities that teachers can use to build these skills. So the first one is sound matching. This is when students pick out words from a word bank and match it with a particular sound. So they can also use rhyming games or read books on rhyming with rhyming words to be able to develop those skills. The next one is sound isolation, and this is when students take a word and they break it apart into the beginning, middle, and end. So when they can use songs or they can use whiteboards or objects to look at different words and break it apart into its individual sounds. So for example, our cup word we would break it apart on a whiteboard and students would write the k, and p sounds out. The next one is sound blending, and you can use word games for this. So you can have the children guess what the word is based on clues about the word, and then also providing the phonemes for the word. So if you have the word cup, you could say, "You drink, I use this to drink out of," and it starts with and it has the phonemes k, and p in it. And then students would then raise their hand or, write down the word cup. All right. And then the next one is sound addition and substitution. So this is when students make up silly words by substituting different phonemes in to an individual word. So if we take flower, for example, students could substitute the beginning of that word, take out the f sound, and substitute a p sound in there to make the word power. All right, and then our last one is sound segmentation, and this is when students draw out the beginning of the word to really make an emphasis on that sound. So for our flower example, instead of just saying flower, we would emphasize the F sound on that by going flower to really draw it out. And you can also use a different strategy known as the Alconen boxes, and this is where you supply different boxes or write it out on a whiteboard. And each box represents the different phoneme. So you give a word and the number of boxes, and the students then write the individual phonemes in each of those boxes. All right, up next we have phonics instruction. What is phonics and how does it relate to phonemic awareness? Phonics is the relationship between letters and sound. So this is that sound and letter or symbol correspondence that we were talking about earlier. It's also the breaking down of sounds and the blending of sounds into spoken words. It also looks at the placement of consonants and vowels and how this impacts different pronunciation, as well as different spelling patterns. So phonemic awareness and phonics are related because phonemic awareness provides the foundational skills to learn the connection between sounds and its written symbols. Phonics builds on this by looking at the relationship between sounds and symbols. So phonics focuses on written phonemes and graphemes, whereas phonemic awareness focuses on just phonemes or the sounds of words. Okay, so how do teachers teach phonics? Well, the best way to teach phonics is through a combination approach where teachers use explicit instruction and authentic application activities. Explicit instruction is where teachers use mini lessons to explicitly present the information and then demonstrate it for the student, as well as providing many opportunities for the student to practice applying the information. So at first, teachers want to use guided practice to provide support for the student who's learning. And then as the student begins to understand and learn the content, they can gradually take away some of those supports. So some activities that teachers can use for authentic application activities include interactive writing, making words, word ladders, and word sorts. So just different ways of combining words and grouping words, and then also segmenting words and looking at individual words themselves. So instruction should also include a balanced approach which is where teachers include reading strategies and skills with opportunities to read and write. So lots of reading and writing to help support that learning. So the most successful phonics programs are those that are structured and systematic. So this is when teachers teach in a very structured manner. So they teach one step after the other. So most teachers tend to begin by teaching consonants and then introducing short vowels and CVC patterns. So consonant, vowel, consonant patterns. Then teachers usually teach students to the consonant blends and digraphs and long vowels to spell CVCE and CVVC patterns. When students learn that, they're able to then learn less common vowel digraphs and diphthongs, as well as R-controlled words. And lastly, students learn strategies to identify unfamiliar words. Yeah, all right. Well, thank you.